And then there's Conservative Senator Rob Portman's stunning decision to now support same-sex marriage after his son told him he's gay. Joining me now is David Bossie, president of Citizens United, also Republican strategist and CNN political contributor Margaret Hoover. Welcome to you both. A big day for the Republican Party in this country. In many ways, let's start with the Portman sensation. No other way of putting it, really. Here is a Republican senator who had repeatedly voted against gay marriage doing a complete U-turn because his son, it turned out 2 years ago, went to him and said, "Dad, I'm gay." Margaret, what did you make of that?
Look, I think Rob Portman acted in a way that was consistent with his love for his son and also consistent with a movement that's happening across the country with Republican legislators. Piers, many people don't know, more than 205 Republican state legislators across the country have voted, elected leaders have voted for the freedom to marry and not lost their seats because of it. 135 members signed on to a amicus brief to the Supreme Court arguing that there's a conservative case and a constitutional case for freedom to marry. So there is a sea change happening within the Republican Party across the country that is just now, with Rob Portman, percolating up to Washington. And so I think we're at a tipping point.
Politico is reporting tonight that a lot of the GOP elite apparently have been very receptive to what Senator Portman said. I want to, though, play the other side of the coin, which is what Rick Santorum said by way of his reaction.
I don't think in my mind, it doesn't alter what the right thing is for America. And the right thing for America is to promote stable families that can come together, have children, and be a solid foundation to raise those children for the next generation. And a man and a woman can do that. No other couple, no other group really can do that.
David Bossie, is what Senator Portman did a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, look, I think it's obviously what he thinks is the right thing for his family. I don't think it's the right thing for America, and I don't think it's the right thing for Senator Portman from a public policy standpoint. Look, Senator Portman had only a few choices. He could cast his son out, which obviously, you know, is a harsh thing to do. He could say, I love you unconditionally, and I change my views, forget my principles. Or I can say, I love you unconditionally, but I don't agree with you philosophically, and therefore I'm not going to change my principles. And Senator Portman sided with changing his principles. And look, I'm a father. I understand. I'm a father of four. I understand. When you're a parent, you have a different view of the world. But I can tell you what Senator Santorum talked about, the importance of a mother and father raising their children, raising the best possible family, is really what America has been about. It's been the thousands of years of church teachings. You know, I think we could try to describe marriage in any way we want, but I think the real definition of a man and woman will never change.
So what would you do if one of your children came to you and said, "Dad, I'm gay"?
Well, look, I mean, I have very small children, so
Well, they're going to grow up, though, right?
Well, we hope so, yes. But I can tell you, I'm not going to. I may be the guy who is supportive of my child in unconditional love, but I'm not going to change necessarily my principles over one of my children's decisions. I would urge one of my kids, if I thought they were doing anything wrong, I would try to urge them to not do that, obviously.
When you say doing something wrong,
Piers,
though,
could I offer a fourth way?
1 second, Mark. I just want to clarify what you meant there. When you say they're doing something wrong, would be the fact that they were born gay be something they'd done wrong?
Well, you may believe that people can be born gay. I'm not necessarily in that boat, but I could say that I was doing a broad stroke, Piers. I was saying, if my child came to me on any number of things, we're talking obviously about gay marriage, I hope I never have to answer that question.
Right, but you would try and correct the wrong, as you put it.
Well,
no, you're now putting words in my mouth. I told you. I was doing a broad.
I'm honestly not putting words into your mouth. We were only talking about gay marriage and whether one of your children, if they turned out to be gay, how you'd react. And you said, if one of my kids did something wrong, you would correct them.
Disagree with that lifestyle. So yes, I do believe it's wrong.
But I just want to clarify what your position is, because you're an important voice in the party.
I fundamentally disagree with that lifestyle. I believe it's fundamentally wrong. I don't think you can be any clearer.
I understand that, but what would you do then about one of your children who said...
I don't do hypotheticals that are 15 or 20 years off, Piers. I'll be honest with you.
Okay. What would you have advised Senator Portman to do?
I would have advised Senator Portman to show unconditional love for his child, but not abandon his principles, which he has espoused over the last many years.
Okay, Margaret?
So what I would offer David is a fourth consideration. He gave us three scenarios, and the one he left out is the one that Portman arrived to and that many conservatives, including people like Charles Murray, conservative intellectuals who have always been harbingers of conservative intellectual thought, and also, by the way, grassroots conservatives. And that fourth principle is this. It is that I can love my son and accept him and realize that I can be for marriage and for families and for same-sex marriage, that it is not against conservative principles to support his son in a same-sex marriage, that frankly we want more marriages in this country, not less marriages. That's what Charles Murray is saying right now. Charles Murray, the thinker of the bell curve, is saying we have a hollowing out of marriages in this country. We have single-parent households that are creating a weakening economy across the country. What we want are more people married, making lifelong commitments to one another across the country. That is the fabric of what makes our society strong, our communities strong, our families strong, is that lifelong commitment. Regardless of the gender, we need more marriages, not less. Marriages are marriages.
And also, I mean, the latest, if I may jump in, Margaret, the latest poll we had, the Quinnipiac poll of February 27th to March 4th, 47% of Americans support gay marriage and 43% are against. So you're on the wrong side of the popular held view here, Mr. Bossie. At what point, will you move with the times?
Piers, just 1 second. I don't make decisions, be candid with you. We don't make public policy decisions in the conservative movement based on what the latest poll says. That may be the same pollster that said Mitt Romney was going to win last November, too, for all I know. So I'm just saying polls come and go.
Okay, let's turn quickly to what Wayne... Well, Margaret, we've got to move on to another thing of the day, which is Wayne LaPierre's extraordinary performance yet again. I'll start with you, Margaret, if I may. He was right on the attack as usual. It's all down to the weak liberal media, presumably includes me in this, anyone who supports gun control. But the line that really got me was this one. Let's listen to this.
The one thing a violent rapist deserves to face is a good woman with a gun.
Now, the thoughts I would imagine, Margaret, I want you to think about is that what he's basically implying is that every woman should therefore be armed, is the logical extension of his argument, which would, of course, sell millions more guns. And he is, of course, financed by the gun manufacturers. So is that what this is all about?
Well, I mean, Piers, I hate to use your own tool against you, but you just cited polling. And, the polling across the country is not for an assault gun weapons ban or the implementation of it. The polling is much more aligned, not with every woman owning a gun, but people are closer to Wayne LaPierre's position than they are to yours. If you were just going to say, you're just going to go with the majority of polling. I agree his rhetoric is inflammatory, and sure, he's talking to you in the liberal media.
Well, hang on, I'm not saying I'm a liberal media. I don't part myself in liberal or right-wing at all. I can't even vote. I don't have a horse in the race.
Well, let me just say this. Do you think, Piers, it would be a bad thing for all potential rapists to think that the woman they're about to rape may be armed, and it wouldn't be a bad way to stop a potential rape?
Right, but here's the problem, Mr. Bossie, is that to facilitate that logical extension of a thought process, every single woman in America needs to walk around with a gun.
No, a rapist has to think that the woman may be armed. That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
How do they know when they're going to be attacked by a rapist?
If you disarm everyone in America, they do know that you're not armed. That's the one fact that you can't get away from.
So again,
what
to
they
clarify,
don't know is if you are armed, there's no sign on your back saying, I'm armed. There's the potential for you to be armed, and that's what stops crimes.
Right.
That's what stops people from breaking in homes all over the country every day.
But if that is true, how do you explain that in America, 100,000 people a year get hit by gunfire, 12,000 or so get murdered with guns, 18,000 kill themselves with guns? Only today in Nashville, a man shot his 8-month-old baby with a firearm he was playing around with in a hotel room with 2 other very young children. How do you explain that when you have more guns in America, you have more gun violence more gun murder. That seems to fly in the face of your argument.
Well, it doesn't. There are criminals, and there are people who obviously, Piers, violate 30 or 40 federal laws long before they murder somebody, and they don't care. They don't care about the 30 or 40 they break before they pull the trigger. Okay, so let's get. I know there's people who have accidents. Obviously, this person that you're talking about, that's an unbelievable, horrible situation, and I don't know anything about it. But that is, those are accidents or on purpose that you can't get around. I mean, but that's not to say that the 330 million Americans should have their Second Amendment taken away. That's where you guys, and I say you guys, the people who are have been over the last several months beating the drum to demand that Congress, demand that the U.S. Senate, demand the House of Representatives pass bad legislation. And that's what's going to end up happening here potentially, is that they're going to pass bad legislation, and then they're going to have to fight all the way to the Supreme Court, and the NRA is going to win, because the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. And just like when I had to go to the Supreme Court to fight for my First Amendment rights in Citizens United versus the FEC a couple of years ago, the Congress passed bad law. McCain-Feingold was bad law. It was unconstitutional when it was signed by President Bush. It was unconstitutional when it was passed by Congress. So I had to fight for 3 years to overturn that law, and that's what happened. That's what's going to happen with Wayne LaPierre. Okay. You're going to have him standing in front of the Supreme Court as a victor.
I suspect the reality is that, rather like Senator Portman, when he discovered his son was gay and he performed this dramatic U-turn and suddenly realized that actually being gay may not be the worst thing in the world, and nor would gay marriage, that it may take something like this happening with guns. You know, if a politician who is so vocally supporting the NRA was to lose his child in the way those poor parents did at Sandy Hook, maybe they too might perform a U-turn on gun control, because it's about making America safer.
Piers, none of us wants gun violence.
You keep saying it's attacking the Second Amendment. Nobody wants to attack a Second Amendment. People want to make the streets of America safer. That's
Piers, you do it every night. you do a show on it every night, attacking the Second Amendment. Maybe that's not how you look at it, but that's how the folks out there see it.
Mr. Bossy, I respect your opinion. I don't agree with it, but I'm glad you're watching the show every night and noticing. Margaret Hoover, David Bossy, thank you both very much.